Electricity Minister Kgsoientsho Ramokgopa says Kusile is the answer to the electricity crisis. He is promising to have it fully operational in a couple of months' time. Let's find out from former CEO at Eskom, Maroga, if this is even possible. He joins us live in studio. Thank you so much, Maroga, for your time. First of all, something to celebrate, right? 800 megawatts from Unit 4 being switched on again is a good thing.
It is a good thing. In the context of a very tight energy system, when you return a unit back to service, it is a good thing, yes.
Is it normal that it took 20 days, more than 2 weeks?
Well, it depends what they were doing. If it's a plant maintenance, it can take 20, it can take longer. It depends on what they were doing. If they brought it back in the time that they budgeted, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Tell me what you think happened, Mr. Maroga. Was it probably government's concentration too much on independent power? For us to see Kusile Power Station, the dates of some of its units coming into the grid taking so long, the dates having to be moved, etc. I mean, in some instances, it's been 10 years of promises with some units. Unit 5, for instance, is not even in the grid at all yet.
Yeah. Look, I think the delay in the construction of the coal power stations, I don't think is related to the IPPs. They had a different program. I think it's well documented, some of the issues that have happened in Midupi, Kusile, in terms of the lateness, cost overrun, time overruns. That is the situation in Kusile. But as I understand it, by end of this year, we may have 4 or 5 units running at Kusile, and with the last one being operational end of next year. If that happens, I think it will, Kusile will then bring a big chunk of capacity onto the grid that will then, alleviate the problem. If we don't have other problems, with other power stations going off the grid.
And of course, those well-documented issues about the badly built power station, some of what actually delayed us in having it fully functional is things that have to do with the architecture of it. And that is still quite disappointing for us as South Africans, because even the bill that the taxpayer has to foot has ballooned.
Yes. So it's the design, which, they found some design faults. It's the construction period, the length in which it took to build, cost overruns, the cost of it. And also with Kusile, there's still issues to do with coal supply, because a lot of the coal that goes into Kusile is still trucked into Kusile, because the mine that was earmarked has not been developed yet. So there are all those issues that are contributing to the tight situation that we currently have, yes.
Is Kusile the answer to our problems in terms of load shedding, or there's also the Unit 1 at Kuber?
Well, let's put, what is the answer to load shedding? We need to stabilize the performance of the entire coal fleet of Eskom, including also, Kuber is part of the entire generation fleet of Eskom. So we need to stabilize that. Stabilizing meaning it performs at KPIs that are in the normal range, more than 60–70% energy availability factor. That then gives you reserve margin, so that when one unit goes, you don't go into load shedding. Because in a power system, you will have failures, but you need to have room so that when you have a power, a unit going off, you still have room. So stabilizing it so that we have a reserve margin, so that we can deal with short-term problems. That's still the issue. It is not Kusile alone. Kusile will alleviate some risk if it comes. If all the units, up to 5, are operational by end of this year, that will give a lot of room in the current situation. But long-term or medium to long-term, you need the entire thing to work together. And the funding must also be in place. So it's not only Kusile that is going to help us. it's stabilizing the entire fleet.
Yeah. I think the other concern, of course, is with regards to Unit 1, 2 and 3 at Kusile, right? That were given a reprieve in terms of emission.
Right.
That reprieve is only until March 2025.
Right.
So it's paramount, right, that he's promised to have it functional at the end of this year and the rest by the end of next year.
Right.
Otherwise, we have to apply for another reprieve.
Indeed. So I think the reprieve was based on a plan to make sure that we come within the emission standards that the plants were designed for. So this is a temporary reprieve so that we can bring the plant back, ease the tightness on the power system, but you do the things that needs to be done to come back to the emission standards that Kusile has been designed for. That is the plan.
All right, so it could be our answer, especially because I understand, according to the statement, or not the statement, but the update that we got on the implementation of the Energy Action Plan by the Minister, is that Kusile, just bringing back Unit 1, 2, 3, would give us 4,800 megawatts of power. That's sufficient, at least, for how many stages down? 2?
Well, Kusile is a 6-unit station.
Yes.
Each station is about 800 megawatts. So bringing 4, it's 4 times 800,
yes,
which is about just over 3,000.
Yes.
But the entire station, when it's fully operational, it'll be 4,800 megawatts of capacity. But for now, Unit 4 is back, which is 800.
800, yeah.
So the rest of the 4,000 is still not operational.
Yes.
So you bring the 3, you bring about 2,400, and between 1, 2, 3, and 4 is equivalent to about 3 stages of load shedding.
Of load shedding that we would be assisted with if all of this is brought back.
Then again, it's always important to put caveats, because you don't want other power stations falling off the grid as well.
Yes.
Because there's still others that are not, from a performance perspective, not where they should be. And those must also be focused on, because you don't want to bring Kusile, then you've got other problems.
Yes, because that would still take us back to your stage 6, right? And that's what I wanted to ask you in terms of the fact that we're still seeing generating units that are tripping overnight, etc., and they have to put us on stages of load shedding at the last minute. What are they getting wrong? I mean, as a person who was, before you became an Eskom CEO, you were also operating on the ground.
Sure.
What is it that they're getting wrong?
Look, I think you must understand it's a systemic problem.
Yes.
That has started some time ago. So it's not as if they're doing something wrong now.
Yes.
I think we know, for instance, some of the long-term, what is called long-term outages to do deep maintenance were not done.
Yes.
So when you don't do that, you run plants.
Now we're rushing through.
Exactly, right? So those things are coming through. Some cases, they want to put the unit out, but they don't necessarily have the budget to invest in the units so that they can run. So it's a systemic issue. Then, of course, they depended on Kusile and Medupi, but when they started, they didn't perform as they should. So all of those contribute to a situation where the coal fleet is not stable enough to give us consistent, stable, reliable power. But let me add the other thing that I want to bring in, the issue of IPPs here. I think for the past few years, there was now emerging an attitude that begins to say, we have an alternative to coal. Therefore, we don't necessarily have to invest much into the health of the coal. And part of that attitude, I think, is creating the current problem. Because if you're not investing in the long term and you're saying, in the next 5 to 10 years, we don't need this power station because we've got an alternative called renewables, you don't do the right thing in terms of keeping them at the right level of operations. So that, in my view, also contributed. So what we need to do now, as we talk about the IRP, or the integrated resource plan that talks to the long-term energy plan, we need to be very clear about our coal fleet. What do we need to do so that they can last as long as they can, while we're integrating other sources, because we still need, as South Africa, a very good base of dispatchable baseload power. And in our case in South Africa, coal is that. Other countries have got gas, hydro, nuclear. We don't have that option. Our option currently is coal. And we need to take care of it as long as we can while we bring other sources. So for me, that's the biggest issue that I think needs to come as we talk about the new IRP.
So balancing it all, basically.
Balancing
while you're bringing these in, maintain what you've got.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Now, when it comes to Kusile itself, it was an accident that caused that gas leak, right? At unit, I think it was unit 4, the one that they just fixed.
No. Maybe you're talking about Midupi. In Midupi, there's one unit that exploded.
Yes.
Because there was a hydrogen explosion there.
Yes.
There they are looking for a spare unit. In fact, apparently they found a spare unit which they're going to put there. In Kusile, it was the stacks that collapsed because they were accumulating some weight because of the emissions. So they have fixed that, but there's the issue about emission standard that they must comply with.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us. You know, we keep seeking answers, of course, to this issue that we have. And, you know, it just doesn't look to us, at least as South Africans, that we're getting there.
Well, look, I think what is important, I think it's important, and I think Minister Ramakgopa is actually saying this.
Yes.
There are no short-term solutions. This is going to take some time. Sometime we're going to have reprieve where we don't have load shedding. It doesn't mean it's over. And sometimes we're going to go to stage 6. It doesn't mean we're going to be in stage 6 all the time. So it's important that this is a very deep problem, systemic problem. It's going to take some time. There's going to be some roller coasters where sometimes we find, sometimes we're not.
Yeah.
But until we have enough reserve margin and the coal fleet is stable enough, then we can say, and it must happen for months, then we can say this problem is behind us.
I always worry about the system controller, those who have to actually look at what's happening to let the powers know that we need to go to stage 6 now.
You should keep praying for them.
I shall. Thank you very much, Mr. Maroga, for your time. That was former Eskom CEO during the glory days of Eskom, when they still used to even receive international awards and accolades for their work. Mr. Jacob Maroga speaking to us there about the good news with regards to Unit 4 at the Kusile power station, giving South Africa at least another 800 megawatts of power. But he says more needs to be done and the maintenance is far from over.